It's blue. Hey everybody, AmberNixon here, talking to you today about the new Hoka One One Clifton 3 shoe. Ta-da! Alright, so let's get into some of the specifics about this shoe. The offset of this shoe is 5 millimeters. It also has a 28 millimeter stack height heel with a 23 millimeter forefoot. This shoe is ultra lightweight with a no-sew speed frame construction. You can definitely tell that even though the weight did go up in this shoe, depending on what size that you ordered in your Clifton 2 shoe, it really doesn't hinder your run. Like all Hoka One One shoes, it still has the early stage meta rocker. And on the sole of the shoe, it still has the strategic rubber placement, giving you long-lasting durability. The Hoka 3 comes in 5 different colors for both females and males. The males have some really intense bright colors. The females have 2 blues, a black, 2 blues, gosh dang it, what do they have? 2 blues, a black, a pink, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and another color. Nothing really as colorful as the men line that has, I think, kind of like a yellowish color. I really do wish Hoka would introduce more vibrant colors, especially in the female lines. But maybe they've done testing and realized that women don't like vibrant colors or something. I don't know. So let's talk about the weight of the Clifton 3 shoe. For me, a size 11 weighs 9 5/8 ounces, and depending on what size you wore in the Clifton 2 shoes, it could vary on weight. For me, on the Clifton 2 shoes, I actually ended up going down a half a size for comfort, even though it was a narrower shoe. For the 10.5 Clifton 2 shoe, it was 9 ounces, but for the 11, it was 9 1/4 ounces. So it's really not that much weight added to the shoe. However, if you do notice weight more easily in your shoes, you might notice the addition of this weight as well, as I know I did. So let's talk about some of the changes that you can physically see on the Clifton 2 versus the Clifton 3 shoe. And I just happen to have a Clifton 2 shoe right here. So one of the biggest changes that they made was redesigning the heel. You can see in the Clifton 2 shoe, it is more rounded versus in the Clifton 3 shoe, it's more of an oval shape. You can also see with the Clifton 3 shoe, they added a little more of a stack height to add more stability. And if you look at the back of the shoe, you can also see that the heel is slightly narrower on the Clifton 3 shoe, really making sure that your heels are locked down and cinched in these shoes. Another thing that's been redesigned from the Clifton 2 shoe to the Clifton 3 shoe are these little eye holes here on the lacing system. You can see it is more on the midsole here, but when you look at the Clifton 3 shoe, it is definitely more at the top. I'm not even going to pretend I know why the lacing system was designed differently. Maybe it's to ensure that the laces stay in properly if you happen to relace your laces differently. I don't know. I really don't notice a difference in my lacing system versus comfort, but it's just really cool that's been redesigned. Another thing that's really different from the Clifton 3 versus the Clifton 2 is the cushioning in the Clifton 3. It is far more superior versus the Clifton 2, and it runs all the way down the length of the shoe. I noticed when I was wearing the Clifton 2 shoe, there was a lot of cushioning up into the heel and in the midfoot area, but once you got into that forefoot, it just kind of fizzled out and it was like... However, with the Clifton 3, it is cushioned from your toe to your heel. It's like stepping on one of those Tempur-Pedic mattresses and just having your feet squish with your toes in between. It's very comfortable. And lastly, the insoles are even created differently. As you can see, the Hoka Clifton 3 versus the Hoka Clifton 2 insole is slightly thicker. We're not talking much. We're talking 24 grams versus 17 grams. But you can really tell the difference when you squish down with your fingers. There is a lot more cushion in the Clifton 3 insole versus the Clifton 2 insole. All right, so let's talk about some of the things I like about this shoe and some of the things that did not work for me when wearing this shoe. Number 1, the wider toe box. Ta-da! Hoka One One really made sure that they listened to their customers, and when you compare these shoes side by side, you can really see the difference in how much wider you have your feet for natural toe splay in this shoe. I noticed it right away when wearing this shoe. It's not only in the toe box area, but it also goes up along the midfoot area. The heel, like I said earlier, is slightly narrower, but it really does make sure that your heel is cinched in. Number 2, the cushion in the shoe. It has to be said. It is amazing. I have never had a shoe with this much cushion. And I usually run on road runs. I sometimes run on trail runs, but most of the time on my road runs, especially when I start to add miles on my run, over 5 miles, my knees and feet start to get a little painful. With these shoes, this did not happen. I honestly felt like I could run in these shoes for a long period of time. Number 3, because of the wider foot pad area, this shoe does provide some stability. It's not necessarily going to provide stability for your arch supports or anything like that, but it does help make more ground contact with the wider foot pad area. And lastly, number 4. This is just overall a really great shoe. I'm really impressed with the redesign. I'm so glad that Hoka One One really listened to their customers when redesigning this shoe. It is superb. Good job, Hoka! Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that did not work for me. Number 1, I found for me personally that this shoe does hold in some unnecessary heat, which leads me to my second point. Number 2, with the redesign of the Hoka Clifton 3 shoe, there is a lot more of this printing overlay and not so much of the mesh in between versus the Hoka Clifton 2 shoe. As you can see, the Hoka Clifton 2 shoe has less overlay, giving you more of a mesh on the sides and on the top, allowing more air to flow in and out of your shoe more naturally. If you look back at the Hoka Clifton 3 shoe, it has more of that print overlay. And I do think that is maybe one reason that this shoe could possibly hold in heat. And lastly, number 3. For some reason, the lining on the top of this shoe is slightly thicker than the Hoka Clifton 2 shoes. I don't know if that also attributes to the heat being stored in the shoe or not, but nonetheless, extra lining means extra heat. It's like wearing a coat on a warm day, just kind of unnecessary sometimes. Overall, I am very happy with this shoe, and I'm more than willing to sacrifice my feet getting a little warmer for the stability and comfort of this shoe. While I was mixed in the beginning when wearing this shoe, it is definitely more of a win-win every time I wear this shoe. Alright guys, so that wraps up this review. Be sure to find me on social media. You can find me on Twitter at LaughRegularly. You can also find me on Instagram at LaughRegularly and on Facebook at facebook.com/LaughRegularly. And of course on this YouTube channel at AmberNixon. Alright guys, have a great weekend. Stay safe.